Thorough product research involves 3 stages, and to do each stage properly, you need to have detailed information and accurate data to analyze. Thomas Jefferson famously said, "Knowledge is power," and because Amazon doesn't provide this information and data to the public, it's crucial to your success that you use the right tool for the job, such as Helium 10. Because not using the right tool is like trying to hammer a nail with a spoon. So with that said, in this video, I'm going to show you my simple 3-step product research process and how I use a set of tools from Helium 10 to find and analyze potential products. Now, I often see people ask why they need a tool. They can just pick products themselves. Well, I say good luck to that. How are you going to make an informed decision on whether or not a product idea is a good one to sell? Making decisions on anecdotal data is basically like gambling. So to avoid gambling, Helium 10 is such a powerful tool that it can help with all 3 stages of product research. Let me ask you a question. In order for you to choose a potential product to sell, you need a list of product ideas to choose from, right? If I asked you to make a list of those products that you think would be good to sell, how big would that list be? A dozen? Several dozen? Maybe a few more than that at most? Well, wouldn't you think that's kind of a problem if you're trying to find good products to sell, but you only have a tiny list to choose from? Well, guess what? With Helium 10, it's able to generate an endless list of product ideas based on specific criteria that you can specify so that you'll always have a list of product ideas to analyze. And this stage is what I call product discovery. This is where you're trying to identify potentially viable product ideas. Now, once you've discovered one or more product ideas, the next step is product analysis. This is where you need detailed information and accurate data related to the product ideas to analyze. Data that Amazon doesn't make public. And again, Helium 10 can show us this information in an easily digestible format. And finally, in step 3, once you've verified that a product idea meets specific criteria, which I'll go over in this video, Helium 10 can help you track products to help you verify that they perform as you expect, such as the sales volume, demand, and competition. Okay, so now that you understand the process of doing product research and how a tool can help you, having a tool is useless if you don't know how to use it, so let's dive right in. All right, so first things first. Head on over to Helium 10's website and create a new account if you haven't already done so. Now, Helium 10 has several plans that you can choose from, like you can see here. However, to get unlimited access to all of the powerful tools that I'm going to talk about in this video, I suggest going with the Platinum plan. It's really all you need. Helium 10 also has a free trial if you want to test it out first. Now, for my followers, I actually worked out a huge discount with Helium 10 for all of you. You can save a ton of money on their plans by using the link down in the description below, so if you decide to upgrade, make sure you take advantage of that discount. Next, you'll need to download and install the Chrome extension. It's important that you do this because the Chrome extension is what provides detailed data for the product analysis step. So head on over to helium10.com/extension and click on Add to Chrome and follow the instructions. Okay, now that the technical stuff is done, we can start with step 1, product discovery. The first tool I'm going to show you is called Black Box. There are several ways they can use Black Box, but we're going to start with the Products tab. Some people might call it the product database. In fact, using the product database is how I found my very first product. Now, it's called Products or Product Database because Helium 10 has gone through and analyzed the millions of products in the Amazon marketplace, and we're able to find a list of products that meet the specific filters that we can set here. Now, you'll notice that we're on the advanced option here. You can try the simple option if you want. In the simple mode, you can simply choose the marketplace, which categories you want to look in, how much improvement you'd like to make to the product, the level of competition, a price range, and monthly revenue. However, I actually suggest using the advanced mode as it gives you a much higher level of granularity. Okay, so to get started, you want to choose the marketplace you want to research. In this case, I'm selling in the US, so I'm going to choose the US marketplace. Then pick the categories you want to find products to sell in. You can select all of them. However, I personally only choose specific categories like the ones you see here. I specifically avoid categories like clothing, shoes, and jewelry because there's way too many variations with all the different sizes and colors, and people always change their minds after buying them, so the returns are high, and that's not something that I want to deal with. Cell phone accessories and electronics break all the time and can be difficult to use. It's also difficult to improve or differentiate because the manufacturing process is usually complicated or expensive. I also avoid anything that you eat. ingest or put in or on your body, like lotions and creams, because I just don't want to be liable if someone was to get injured or hurt. And I also avoid the toys and games category because they have too many restrictions and is way too competitive, and the life cycle of these products is often very short. The review count is how many people have left a review for the product, and this metric is how we determine how competitive a product or niche is. I suggest keeping it under 300 reviews, as anything much more than that is too competitive. The review rating is the feedback score the listing has or how many stars that it has. This is the range between 0 and 5. I typically leave this alone to start, but if you want to find products that need improvement, meaning people are buying this product even though it has poor reviews, you can set it to an upper limit such as 3.5 or 4 stars here. That way you can come in with a better improved product. BSR is the bestseller rank. You can use this to find products that are more or less competitive. The lower the BSR, the better the product is selling. I typically leave this alone. Now, I suggest sticking with only standard size products. This keeps your shipping and Amazon fees low. Oversized products can be a logistical nightmare with high storage, shipping, and Amazon fees, to the point where it may not even be cost effective to do FBA. And for the same reason, I suggest keeping the weight 2 pounds or less. For fulfillment, check them all. Now, for the rest of this column, leave everything blank for now, except I suggest excluding specific keywords like I have here. You can use this field to remove common products that keep showing up in the search results that you don't want to sell. For example, I don't want to sell clothes, but quite often clothing makes it through the filters that I set. So as you can see here, I have a huge list of keywords I want to exclude here, like men's, women's, shirt, pants, and so on. And if you're doing private label, you're not going to be reselling other brands' products, so you can exclude those brands here, like Nike, Under Armour, NBA, and so on. And if you want to use my list, I'll post these keywords down in the description below. Okay, under the competitors column, leave everything alone. If you want to know what these filters do, you can always hover your mouse over the icon here and you'll see a tooltip. Now, the sales section here is where you can fine-tune everything to find specific micro niches. The key here is to understand what each one of these filters does so that you can use them effectively and not use the same settings that everyone else is using. That way you can find products that other people aren't seeing. The first filter is the price. This is where you can set the minimum and maximum price of the products to show in the search results. What I suggest is setting a range between $15 and $50. The reason is because anything less than $15, if you subtract your manufacturing costs and Amazon fees, there won't be any money left for profit. Amazon fees are going to be at least $6 to $7 or so. So if we use the rule of thirds here, typically 1/3 will go to manufacturing, another third to fees, and the last third is your profit. So at $15, you can expect 1/3 of that will be your profit at around $5. But I do want to point out that with the recent Amazon fees update, products priced below around $20 are seeing more around 50% going to fees. So be cautious and do your due diligence to make sure you are selling profitable products. And I'll post a link to the new Amazon fee structure below if you want to take a look at it. Now, for the upper end of the price range, I wouldn't suggest going anything higher than $50 because products beyond that price point, buyers will typically put more thought and research into it, and it's no longer an impulse buy. Now, like I said, with the current climate with e-commerce and Amazon, I suggest actually setting the price range somewhere between $30 and $50. This will help you avoid a lot of competition because most beginners or people with smaller budgets are looking in that lower price range. Higher priced products also generally have higher profit margins too. And the price change percentage, leave it alone. Monthly revenue is how much gross revenue the product is making each month. Revenue is how much total money is made in sales without subtracting anything such as fees and costs. I suggest setting this range between $6,000 and $18,000. The reason is because typically around 1/3 of the revenue is profit, like I said. So if the product is generating around $6,000 per month, a rough estimate of the monthly profit is $2,000. But you can always adjust this to suit your own needs. I don't suggest setting the upper limit to something astronomical in an attempt to find a golden nugget. Products that have huge monthly sales are generally from major brands or top sellers, and those products are on everyone's radar and are way too competitive, so stay away from those types of products. Sales change percentage, leave it alone. Start with the minimum monthly sales at $300. That's a good starting point if you're looking for products in the $5 to $10 profit margin range. If you do the math, 300 monthly sales with a $5 to $10 profit margin puts you around $1,500 to $3,000 profit per month, which is in line with the $6,000 monthly revenue we set earlier. And leave the rest of the filters alone. Now keep in mind that none of these filters are set in stone. you can play around with them to find different products. I know a lot of you will, but don't just copy what I'm showing you here. For example, you can set a maximum review rating like 3.5 so you can specifically look for products that are selling well in spite of the fact that they have poor reviews. Or you can combine strategies such as looking for products that have low BSR, meaning that they're selling well, while still having poor reviews. And a pro tip here is I like to not use whole numbers in the price and revenue fields. Most people will just put $30 or $50 and roll with it. But what I like to do is think outside of the box, and instead I'll use something like $29.68 and $52.42 or whatever. It doesn't matter what the pennies are, just so that I can find those outliers that are right at the border of those price points. Sometimes I'll even search right at the breakpoints since sellers like to set their prices there to see what I can find. For example, I'll look right at the $20 breakpoint and set the range between, say, $19.52 and $20.13. Again, the decimal points don't matter. Just choose something at random. And I'll check at the $30 and $40 breakpoint and so on. Thinking outside the box is what separates the winners from the losers. Again, there's no right or wrong way of doing product discovery, so play around with these filters and see what you can find. Now, another pro tip, you can save these settings so you can pull it up again in the future, or save several different ones by clicking on Save as Filter Preset. You can also use Helium 10's preset filters by choosing one of them from here. However, again, I suggest learning what these filters mean and using your own strategy so that you can find products that other people aren't seeing. The lazy people will just copy what I'm doing here or use Helium 10's presets. And I know you're not one of these lazy people, so smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps out this channel more than you know, and I would really appreciate it, so thank you. And my name is Crescent. If you're finding value in this video and want to learn more about selling on Amazon and connect with me, as well as surround yourself with other like-minded sellers, join my Amazon Facebook group. It's one of the largest with over 30,000 members. You can find a link down in the description below. And with that said, click on Search. Helium 10 will then pull up all the products in the marketplace that will match the filters that we set. You can see that Helium 10 pulled up 500 results, and that might seem overwhelming. So you can always tighten up the search filters to reduce the number of search results. For example, only look at products within a smaller price range today. Then tomorrow, using the same filters, set a different price range, and so on. That way it's more manageable for you on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so now in the search results, you can see that Helium 10 has pulled up a ton of products that match the filters that we set, along with the data such as the BSR, monthly sales, reviews, total sales, and so on. But we're not going to worry about those. The key here is that instead of having to think up product ideas on our own, we have a list of products that we can search through to see if any of them look promising to sell. But the thing is, just because these individual products match our search criteria, it doesn't mean that they're good products to sell. That's an important fact to remember. Now, pro tip here, instead of starting on page 1 of the search results, I actually like to work backwards. That's because everyone else is going to start on page 1. Again, thinking outside of the box, I want to try to find products that other people aren't seeing. Okay, so the key to efficient product discovery is to not waste time doing a deep analysis on everything that you see. Browse through these listings and specifically look for products that you don't immediately recognize or appear strange and out of the ordinary. These are the best products to do a deeper analysis on. Products that you immediately recognize or you're familiar with are almost always too competitive, so don't waste your time looking at them. So I'll scan down the list, looking at the photos and titles, and when I find a product that catches my eye, like this Woodhaven the Hunting Public 3-pack, I actually have no idea what this is, so let's open it up on Amazon and take a look. Okay, I still have no idea what this is. Okay, wait, it looks like they're turkey calls for hunting. Like you blow on them or something and it makes turkey sounds. Yep, that's exactly what this is. Gobble gobble. Okay, so now that we know what this is, we need to analyze the entire niche to see if this is a good product to sell. By analyzing the entire niche, we can determine if there's enough demand, how much competition there is, and if it meets a number of other factors. So in order to do that, we need to do a search on Amazon for the main keyword for this product. I think it's obvious that the main keyword is turkey calls. Now, if you're not sure or you want to verify what the keyword is, you can take a look at the other listing titles and see what the other sellers are calling it, or simply head on over to Amazon and make sure you choose all departments, and then in the search field, type in what you think is the main keyword, in this case, turkey calls. And Helium 10 will pull up an extremely helpful search volume summary here. And we can quickly and easily see that turkey calls is the most relevant keyword phrase for this product that also has the most searches here. Now, you can also verify this by browsing through the search results to make sure that the majority of the listings are indeed the same product that you're interested in. If you see a ton of unrelated products, then you've probably used the wrong keyword. Now, I want to point out that it's extremely important that you choose the correct keyword phrase when you're analyzing niches, because if you choose the wrong keyword phrase that is too long tail, meaning that it's too specific, you're still going to see similar products in the search results, but you're looking at a smaller subset of all of the listings that you'll actually be competing against. Now, I have a separate video that goes into detail on this, which I'll leave a link to down in the description below. This is a very important step that you need to get right, otherwise you're going to be analyzing the wrong data. So in this case, everything looks right, so we can pull up the Helium 10 Chrome extension by clicking on the icon at the top here and use a tool called X-Ray. Now, as you can see, X-Ray has pulled up all of the details for these top listings in the search results. Isn't that awesome? This is data that you wouldn't be able to get by any other means. Amazon themselves simply doesn't provide this data to the public. We can see each listing's monthly sales, sales history, revenue, how much their fees are, and so on. Now, one super important point I want to mention here is do not sort these listings or rearrange them. I see way too many people doing this. You always want to analyze niches with the listings in their organic order. That's the order as they appear in the search results. This is because these top listings are the listings you'll be competing directly against. So don't resort the listings by sales or revenue or whatever that I see other people doing. You also want to ignore all these sponsored listings. These are listings that have the SP icon next to them. These are listings placed on the page based on Amazon's PPC advertising system. They're not organically ranked there. You can actually turn these off so they don't show up at all by going up to the settings here and then check mark hide sponsored products. Now, by analyzing the data such as the price, sales, volume, revenue, and reviews, you can determine if this niche meets the criteria you've set out for yourself to be able to hit your profit and sales goals. The first thing I like to check is to see if this niche is too competitive. So scan down the top 15 listings or so and see if the majority of the listings have less than 300 or so reviews. That means that out of the top 15 listings, you want to see at least 10 to 12 listings have less than 300 reviews. Actually count them. Don't rely on the summary at the top. Again, too many people rely on this summary here. Averages don't tell you the whole story. A few listings that have a lot or very few reviews will throw off an entire average. For example, if only one or two listings have extremely high sales, but all the other listings have barely any, an average will still make it appear that the entire niche has decent sales, when in fact only one or two sellers do. So only use these averages as a reference. Never base any decisions on them. Now we can see that most of the listings here have more than 300 reviews, but not by much. So I'd say the competition here is borderline too competitive. So let's keep analyzing. Keep in mind though that for a niche to be a viable product idea, it needs to pass all of the criteria. So if it fails any of these metrics, just skip the product and move on to the next one and don't waste any more of your time. The key is to analyze as many product ideas in the time that you're spending to do product research because most of them aren't going to pass. Now, if it does pass for low competition, or in this case it's borderline, let's check to see if it meets your sales and profit goals. Do most of the listings have 300 or more sales per month? Again, count them. Don't use the averages at the top. Do most of the listings generate $6,000 in revenue or more per month? Now, another extremely convenient tool that Helium 10 has is a built-in profit calculator. It's important that you take a look at what the potential profit margin is because the sales and revenue that you see here is just a small picture. For example, you can choose a couple of the top sellers and get a rough estimate of their profits by opening up their listing, then click on the Chrome extension, and then choose Profitability Calculator. What's great about this is that by doing it this way, you can see that it pulls up all of the product details for you as far as the size and weight and other relevant information. It's important that you have the actual product details when figuring out the profit margin because these factor into the FBA fees. Now you can see the sale price here. You can adjust it if you want. The estimated manufacturing shipping costs, the FBA and referral fees, as well as the storage fee. And down here, it shows you what the net profit is. How great is that? Of course, you can adjust all of these parameters. For example, if you head on over to Alibaba and you see that the average manufacturing cost is different, or you've added value to the product so you want to increase the price point, you can change it here and you'll get a pretty good estimate of what your profit will be. Now, if you don't have Helium 10, you can also use the Amazon FBA Calculator. It's free. Just do a search on Google for FBA Calculator and it'll be the first link, or I'll post a link down in the description below. And while we're here on the listing page, Helium 10 also has a convenient summary at the top here. For example, you can see the listing quality and how you can possibly improve on it, as well as the top keywords this listing is ranking for here. And if you scroll down, you can find a historical graph of the price and BSR, which can give you a good idea of how well this product has been performing over time. You can also get an estimate of their inventory levels and other tools here, including the calculator that we just went over. Okay, now moving on with the data analysis. An important metric that sellers don't consider is the listing age. This is how long a listing has been available for sale on Amazon. You want to avoid niches where there's a lot of new listings. This is what I call niche saturation. If you see too many new listings, that means a lot of people have recently discovered this niche and have launched their products, and there's probably going to be more coming. This increases the competition and drives up the PPC costs. You also need to keep in mind that because these are new listings, you can't trust their sales and revenue data. Their sales are most likely generated from doing deep discounts, coupons, promotions, and rebates in order to generate those sales. They're not organic sales. Therefore, out of the top 15 listings, you want to make sure that you don't see more than 4 or 5 new listings. These are listings that are less than 3 months old. Now, you also want to make sure that the niche isn't brand dominated, meaning that there isn't any brands that have more than 3 or 4 listings in the top 15, and that there aren't any major well-known brands. The reason is because top brands are well established and have brand loyal customers that will only buy from them. They may also be generating traffic from direct traffic outside of Amazon, so you won't be able to compete with them. Not to mention, major brands generally have unlimited advertising budgets, so it'll be difficult to outcompete them. Another factor you need to consider is seasonality, meaning products that only sell well during a small period of time during the year, like pool noodles or Halloween costumes. You want to sell products that sell well all year round. An easy way to check is to click on the sales graph of one of the top sellers that's been selling for more than a year, select all time, and it'll be pretty obvious if a niche is seasonal, like you can see here. This sells well only between February through April, which I assume is hunting season. Now, if you don't have Helium 10, you can check for seasonality by doing a search on Google Trends. Do a search for the main keywords, change the period to past 5 years, and again, you can see the trend. It has the most search volume between February and April. Now, some niches may have spikes during Christmas if they're giftable products or like stocking stuffers, so that's okay. I wouldn't recommend selling seasonal products until you have more experience, since managing inventory levels and predicting sales is difficult. Now, I'm just scratching the surface here when it comes to product analysis. There's much more factors you need to consider, such as patents and trademarks, restricted and prohibited products, and so on. So if you want to learn more about how to do detailed product analysis, I'll post a link to a video down in the description below. All right, now if you find a viable product that meets all of these analysis criteria, or at least comes close, you can move on to step 3 of product research, which is product tracking. This is an important step because sometimes things can change between the time you discover the product idea to when you fully commit to it by making your payment for manufacturing. In fact, this has happened to me before in the past. Sometimes while you're moving forward with a product idea during the following weeks or months, the climate changes that affects the market for whatever reason, and the niche tanks. And suddenly demand and sales fall to the point where the product is no longer viable and it just doesn't make any sense to sell. This is a situation where you want to be able to be aware of as soon as possible so that you can pivot or abandon the product idea before you're fully committed, which in my case saved me from making a huge mistake and investing money into a bad product idea. So to track the product, you can check the niche every day to make sure it's still viable. And if you want to track specific listings, such as the top sellers, you can checkmark the listings you want to track in X-ray and click on Track Competitor. You'll be able to see your tracked products on your product list back on Helium 10's website here. And a pro tip, if there's any new sellers, you can track them too and see how well they're doing. It'll give you an idea of how difficult it will be to break into the niche once you launch your product. So what I'm saying here is don't just identify a viable product idea and then assume it will always be viable. Continue to track it until you're fully committed to selling it, which is typically once you've paid for your inventory. Until then, you can always back out and minimize your losses if necessary. All right, so that's how you can use the products option or the product database. Again, this is the best way for new sellers to get started with product research. And like I said earlier, this is the strategy that I used to find my first product. But that's not the only way you can do product discovery. In fact, there's no right or wrong way to do product discovery. Sometimes I'll find interesting product ideas just from going about my day-to-day activities. I've actually made videos about products that I've found while running errands. Remember, you always want to be thinking outside of the box. So I'll show you a couple of other ways you can use Helium 10 for product discovery. If we head on over to the keywords option in black box here, we'll find a different set of filters that we can use to pull up a list of product ideas that match the criteria, just like we did with the product database. So to start, I suggest setting a minimum search volume of 3,000. That's 100 searches per day. Anything less than that just doesn't have enough demand. Again, set the monthly revenue between $6,000 and $18,000. The minimum price range between $15 and $50. Again, be aware that the lower priced products are going to see a much smaller profit margin nowadays with the new Amazon fees. Reviews, set a max of 300. And if you want, you can set the review rating max to something like 4.2 to find products that you can improve on. Now, a tip here is I suggest setting the word count to a minimum of 3 words. This is because the shorter keyword phrases, generally speaking, have much more competition, but you can always play around with this and see what you come up with. In the advanced filter section, select the categories, excluded keywords, shipping tier, and monthly sales like we did before in the product database. And don't forget the fulfillment options. You can play with the other filters too, but this is a great starting point, and just like we did before, hit search and go through the results and see what you can find. Similarly, you can use the niche tab to do product discovery. This option is a little different than the last two. Instead of the typical filters, you want to enter a keyword phrase that describes a niche that you're interested in. For example, you can put gardening, fitness, home organization, or you can be more specific like golf or gifts for mom, or you can even try niches that you're familiar with, such as your own personal interests or hobbies. That way you'll actually have knowledge about the products, which can give you a huge advantage on what to look for or how to improve a product idea. Now again, having the right tools at your disposal and knowing how to properly use them will drastically improve your chances of success and speed up the process of finding new product ideas. If you want to try out Helium 10, remember, I have a link down in the description below for a trial period if you want to test it out, as well as a huge discount if you decide to upgrade. Now, using Helium 10's black box is just one way to do product discovery, and I suggest all beginners start here. But if you really want to be thinking outside the box and avoid finding products that other people are seeing, I've found excellent product ideas using other simple yet powerful strategies that you can learn about right over here.